Welcome, everybody, to the X Factor podcast. Today, we're coming right after an amazing week 2, or week 3, I might say, of college football action. I'm gonna go do what I do with every other review. I'm gonna go through the top 25 teams, and I'm gonna go with any other game that I watched or that any game that was very entertaining. that I was able to watch. So let's get. Sorry about that. Under the weather a little bit here. Let's start with number 1 team in the country, Georgia. They come in and they play Kentucky, unranked Kentucky, and they come in and Kentucky gave them a fight. And I feel like we see this a couple times a year with Georgia. It's like they play bad and then they still end up winning. And honestly, I'm surprised Georgia is still able to keep doing that and still win. It's like a false hope, and then boom, next thing you know, they're right into it with the win. Carson Beck, he was all right. Nothing really too special. 15, 24, 160. They had a touchdown. The only touchdown of the game was from Branson Robinson. He 2 carries for 5 yards at a touchdown. That's a legendary stat line right there. So yeah, I thought Kentucky played really good defense all around. Because letting up 12 points to the number 1 team in the country is very huge. And in Georgia, they made sure Kentucky only scored field goals, so defense obviously was really well there. I think the only thing I could question from that game was Stoops punting with about 3 to go when it's 4th and 1 midfield. I'm sorry, you never want to punt in that situation because then you're just gonna screw yourself, and they did, and that's what ended up screwing it for them. Do I think anything different in Georgia? Nothing really. I just don't think they're the number 1 team right now. The next team that I'm going to talk about, I think it has a proud choice of being number 2, and that's Texas. They destroyed UTSA. Quinn Ewers, he got injured early in the game, and then Arch Manning comes in, and Quinn Ewers, he already had 2 touchdowns, 185 yards, 2 incompletions, and an interception. And then Arch Manning comes in, and he has a touchdown, or I believe he had a rushing touchdown. Second drive or whatever, he had a rushing touchdown. Yeah, and then he had 4 passing touchdowns, too, on top of that with 223 yards on 9 passes. So let's just say the future of Texas is probably already there in front of us. And it's not surprising that a Manning is coming into a league or a football league or a program, whatever you want to call it, and is playing so well. Now, a Manning with legs is scary. Because if Peyton Manning would have had some legs to run with, or Eli, they would have been pretty scary as well to watch. But Arch, if he has the same ability to play as a Peyton Manning, or like the mind as a Peyton Manning, and, the will to win and win in big games like Eli Manning did in his prime, and the legs of like Archie or something, he's going to have a very good career in the NFL when he gets drafted. and the thing is, we're only talking about him in college right now. He still has like 3-4 years left before he goes to the NFL. So seeing him in college football is going to be very fun to watch. And especially with Texas, I think Texas has a great program to lead them onto that way. Now we go to the next team. Alabama destroyed Wisconsin. Nothing really expected there. Alabama, they're killing DeBoer. I feel like has done a good job so far at keeping Alabama at a steady pace of where they should be. And they needed a guy like him to come in to replace Saban, because there's not many people that can replace Saban and do as good as him. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer is going to do exactly what Nick Saban did and become like the greatest coach in college football history. I'm saying he's gonna come in and he's gonna make an impact with Alabama and um, maybe win a couple championships for Alabama. He led Washington to a championship last year, and now he's with a bigger program in the SEC. We get to see him in that Alabama team play in a couple weeks against Georgia, so we're gonna see what they can do against the number 2 team now in Georgia, which I'll talk about later. Ole Miss destroyed Wake Forest. Ole Miss has been a freaking monster this year. I believe they scored over 40 almost every game this season. They've been really good to watch. I wouldn't even be mad to say that they're in the top 3 teams in college football right now. Ole Miss is not getting talked about when I think they should. They're coming in and they're winning games and they're destroying teams. And there's a couple other teams that I think on this list that needs to be talked about more, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. In our segment of Glazian Hour, which I introduced last week on the podcast on my NFL review. Glazian Hour, I pick a couple things from the week of the college football, and I'll glaze them. I'll dick ride them. No homo. Pause. And we'll go on with our day. So, in Ole Miss, they're going to have to be added to them. I think they're playing really, really well. I think if they have a chance, I don't think they play Alabama. I don't know if they play Georgia, but if they have to play any tougher team this season, I'm gonna be watching, because that's gonna prove whether or not if what I still think now is still valid at this point at that point of the season. Missouri beat Boston College. Boston College, they fought all the way. Missouri ended up with the win. Missouri's another one of those teams that needs to be talked about more. How they've almost beaten Georgia a couple times over the last couple of years. They're really solid top 10 team that not many people talk about. And Cook, the quarterback, he's a very good quarterback, and the whole team just feels. And it feels like in the SEC they need stronger teams, and Missouri in the last couple of seasons has made it competitive with these tougher teams in the SEC. Tennessee goes into Kent State. Well, they're at home, but they beat Kent State 71-0. I'm not going to lie to you, that 65 points in just a half. Nico Amaliva, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He looks strong on this team. He looks perfect for this team. I know the last couple of years they've had some pretty good quarterbacks, but this one might be the best. 10 for 16, 173 yards, a touchdown. And his rushing ability, even though they had a really good game on the run game, his rushing ability is still good. Just watch the Iowa game from the bowl game that they had with Iowa last year. He looked very good in his debut. He's looked well this season. And you know, they got to play Alabama at some point. This could be the one team that I could see outside of Georgia and maybe Oklahoma that could beat Alabama just this season. They're playing really great football right now. Oregon destroys Oregon State. I feel like we needed to see this out of Oregon. 49 points is what we should be seeing out of Oregon on some of these teams that they play, especially when they played Idaho and Boise State, and not in these close, tight games. But I feel like this week was the week that they shown that they can fight with the bigger schools and all that. Dylan Gabriel, a great quarterback for Oregon. Hoping to see some more out of him with these next upcoming weeks. Miami, another little dark horse team that I feel like people need to be talking about. Cam Ward as their quarterback. They beat Ball State 62-0. They just absolutely destroyed them. And I don't talk much about these destroyed games because I don't really watch them. I just watch literally bits and pieces of it and move on, because it's like all you need to see is just a couple really good plays. Going over a whole game looking over them. It's like you're just sitting there watching another team dominate when you know they can dominate. It literally, you can look at 10 plays through some of these blowout games and be like, there's nothing else I gotta watch. I know what I saw, And I feel like we saw that out of Alabama, we saw that out of Tennessee, we saw that out of Oregon, we saw that out of Miami, and obviously Utah State. Utah State came up with they were coming up, they were have almost on an upset, but then Utah comes back. Isaac Wilson, I think, is the quarterback. He is Zach Wilson's brother, I believe. He looks strong out there. Utah. It sucks for Cam Rising that he is now out. I feel like he is a good quarterback. The only problem is his age now. And hopefully, he gets a shot at some point. I don't know if he's out for the whole season, but if he is, I don't know what that means for his eligibility or for his NFL status. But I'm hopefully a team, if he ends up in the NFL in the next 2 seasons, hopefully a team picks him up because they're going to be getting something out of him if they let him develop. Oklahoma State destroyed Tulsa. Like I said, nothing really to talk about there. Oklahoma State fucking just destroyed after almost losing to Arkansas last week. Oklahoma takes down Tulane. I thought Tulane was going to be on upset alert. They come out and Oklahoma just took them. And blew them around a little bit. LSU in South Carolina, though, that was a fun one. I will admit that one was the fun one of the week. The whole game was just intense. I feel like LSU got bailed out a little bit with the interception getting called back, or the interception for a touchdown getting called back because of unnecessary roughness on the quarterback or whatever, when all they were doing was blocking. Because when you're on defense, you have to, that's the first thing you got to do after an interception. You have to block. And the fact that they threw a flag over that, I think it's stupid. South Carolina should have definitely won this game. Refs, of course, had to come in clutch there from Raheem Sanders. Awesome day for him, 19 for 143. Lenore Sellers, 10 for 88, 2 touchdowns. And then, of course, passing Lenore Sellers, all right, nothing special. But the running game is really what kept them in the game. Now, I want to get into an uncomfortable conversation here with Michigan because let's be honest here. We're 3 weeks in, and I don't know how to feel about Michigan right now. They don't look good. They don't look great. Hell, sometimes they don't even look average. The fucking your quarterback throws 3 interceptions. I believe he has 6 interceptions already this season. I believe after, they lost a lot of pieces in the offseason to draft and all this and that, but as defending national champions, you gotta prove your spot and you gotta play. And you struggle against Arkansas State, you struggle against Fresno State, and then you get blown out by Texas. And they're lucky that they only put 31 on them instead of fucking 50. Michigan, I said about a week or two ago, Penn State was going to crumble at some point. Hell, Michigan beat them to it because they're absolutely awful. And Donovan Edwards, don't even get me started on him. For a guy who's gotten so much hype and being cover athlete, he looks like fucking dog shit every week, and that doesn't help anyone's situation. Davis Warren, he looks fucking awful. Alex Orji might be the only good thing about the team, but that's a low bar, at this point. The team is very bad. It's just a matter of time before it gets uglier. And, head coach Ron Moore, honestly, after winning a championship and coming back, if they have anything worse, or if they get worse over time in the next season or two, fire his ass, honestly. Because what else are you supposed to do? In my opinion, you give I don't think he is a great head coach. He had his time with last season when you have all your major pieces. Who knows? Maybe the team somehow comes together and gets strong over the next year or whatever. But right now, I don't see nothing in this team, and Moore could potentially be on the hot seat for how this team is played. And if they start losing, they would definitely put him on the hot seat, in my opinion. Notre Dame, they lost last week, and they come out and they destroyed Purdue. They literally destroyed Purdue, up, down, sideways, any way you call it. They destroyed them. Purdue, I really don't know what to say. They look really bad. They might be one of the worst teams I've had to watch, because they literally 66 to 7. That's beyond terrible. So yeah, I really don't know how to say that one. Nebraska faces UNI, Northern Iowa. Nebraska destroys them 34-3. I think that's kind of expected. Dylan Riola, 247 yards, touchdown, 6 incompletions, and an interception. His first one of the year, or his first turnover of the year, I might add. Nebraska is weirdly good this year, I think. And as someone who is an Iowa fan, I despise Nebraska, but I have to give props to where props should be due. Where I should give them. And I feel like I need to give them their flowers right now. They haven't really played anyone good, and you could throw there Colorado's good. Colorado fucking sucks. They're fucking terrible. I don't give a shit what you think. Their offense is terrible, and I'll talk about them here in a little bit. And Dylan Riola, I think people need to give Matt Rule, like I said last week, get on their knees and thank him for saving this program. He's about to lead this team to almost a 9-win season, I think. They play Illinois on Friday. I know they're going to have a tough game with Illinois. Maybe, and this is their tough test right here. And this is just a start if they can go. And if they can perform well against Illinois and beat Illinois, then you could say, okay, maybe we're up to some here. Now, you go up to Ohio State, in a couple weeks. If they could beat Ohio State, then okay, it's like, now you're the real deal. But if they could play decent, it's like, okay, they can really show something. If they get blown out, it just shows that they're not really up there yet. There still needs to be work on the team. But other than that, I think Nebraska's great. And then a couple other games to talk about here. Colorado, I know TCU had a game. Or by the way, UNLV lost to Kansas, upset. I forgot to talk about that one. UNLV 3-0 for the first time since 1984. And I'm going to give you a minute here. Who do you think the quarterback was in 1984, UNLV? I'll give you like 10 seconds. Alright, if you didn't get it, it was Randall Cunningham. And even if you looked it up, fuck you. So Randall Cunningham really made an impact over there. And UNLV is now 3-0 for the first time. Kansas going down to 1-2. Tragic for them, honestly. And then let's see here. And then West Virginia versus Pitt. That was a pretty fun game to watch, especially the ending of the game. And now here we are. Before I talk about Colorado, UCF, TCU. UCF came back after being down. What was the score? What was it like? 28-7. And they come back and they score 35-34. That is honestly awesome. KJ Jefferson, 3 touchdowns, 230. passing, running the ball really well. TCU in the end, they just choked. They really just choked. The quarterback, Josh Hoover, 402, 4 touchdowns, 52 passes on 35 completions. Jack Beck, 9 catches for 200. Really good game coming out of Jack Beck there. But yeah, very, very good game for. And I was able to catch this up earlier today watching it. And this is a Monday while I'm recording. And yeah, they came back. It was honestly incredible to watch. Now we get to Colorado and Colorado State. Colorado destroyed them. And I really don't even want to talk about that. It's just and people wonder why Colorado gets hated so much. And after this game proves everything. And I get it, it's a rivalry game, you're allowed to talk shit. But it's different when you literally, the week before, you go out and you literally go to the locker room before the game ends. Or whatever. And you could throw out any excuse, I don't really give a fuck. You take your quarterback out of the game because they're losing so bad. And then the next week, the other courtside quarterback, even though he did talk shit, he lost. He still came up to him as a man, and Shador's like, "Fuck you," like what, like bro, Dylan Riola could have said that to you last week, dude. You fucking, they were talking so much shit, and then the minute they get destroyed, they run off like little fucking pansies, and then they win and they do this. I don't even know who I'm really feel bad for. Colorado fans for really being this delusional in this team, or Travis Hunter, because Travis Hunter, he put number one player out of the country, comes out and he puts his life and everything. He puts it all. It's like, here, Dion, take it. I will play for your team. And all the NIL and all that bullshit. He comes in and this is what the results he's going to get from it. Now, he's lucky enough that hopefully NFL GMs realize how shitty Colorado is. And they're going to be like, we're going to put you in a better situation with better quarterbacks, better players, to make you a better player. So, Travis Hunter, he's, based off the interview I seen him talk about the other week or whatever against North Dakota State, he talked about how much he loved watching film, and he watched like 10 hours, or it was like 10 hours a day or some shit. Like, he's literally what every NFL GM wants to see. Them dedicate their life to their sport to win them championships, and so they can make money. So Travis Hunter, he's wherever he goes, every team's gonna be blessed to have him there. Shador, he's good. He's really good. I can't lie. But I feel like his attitude is going to get him fucked in the NFL. He's still going to get drafted first round. He's most likely to be first round. How maybe some GMs are going to... Maybe after the season he gets dropped out of the first. and I think GMs and all these people should see what... Because, character always is a thing, And if you don't have good character, then you're not really going to be good when you're in the NFL, Hell, Baker's seen it first-handedly. Baker Mayfield, we've seen how he was in college. He joins Cleveland, and he tries to make him a winning program. He won a playoff game for him. And then, look, they just dumped him, and now he's in a better spot in Tampa Bay. And then I seen someone try to say something about Baker over the Shador Sanders stuff, and I had to post like, well, Baker actually won. Baker actually was able to compete for something other than a Twitter fight. I don't know. It disappoints me so much that Shador is such a great quarterback, but his ego and his name and all this is what's and it builds up this attitude to where it's like, yeah, I don't really like you that much. And to me, it's just sad because yeah, your father is Deion Sanders, but that doesn't mean you gotta act like him, And then let's be real, the egos they still get even though when they do get beat, their egos still get shattered, but they still come back thinking that they're still the best when they're obviously not the best. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about Colorado. They're egotistical. They're one of the most ego teams to not win. Like, it's crazy. Big Ten. Talk here. Iowa. I always got to talk about Iowa here. Favorite team here. They played Troy, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm worried. I am very worried in this team. Yes, they played well on defense against Illinois State, which is Illinois State, by the way, and and defense also played solid against Iowa State, but this was scary. Like, this was beyond scary. Defense looked shook at times, and I really don't know how many times I gotta say this, but they need to get him benched. I was so happy to see Cade actually win and show up at Iowa, or when go to Michigan and transfer to Iowa. And I'm so happy. I don't know what happened. I really don't. He's not good. Like, he was 19 for 23, 176. But if you watch the game, I'm sorry, if you're throwing 19 completions and you only have 176 yards to show for it, yeah, you didn't really play good, dude. Like, hell, backup quarterback Brandon Sullivan had a better game than him, and he only threw one pass for 2 yards on a touchdown. I think they need to discover the options of potentially benching Cade, because we're not going to win games if we do, or if we don't bench him at some point. Caleb Johnson's carrying the offense. Let's be honest here. 23 carries for 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. I believe he leads college football in rushing yards, which is, I'm honestly shocked based off the Boise State running back, Ashton Genty. Caleb Johnson really showing out, and hopefully some NFL teams look at him, because he's a powerhouse. Like, he's a really good running back. Now, going into week 4, some of the big games happening on this week. Illinois versus Nebraska, both ranked teams. Both hopefully stay in the top 25. I think Nebraska takes the win mainly off the defense. Texas, they play LA Monroe. Let's be honest here, we know what's going to happen. Ohio State plays Marshall, we know what's going to happen. Tennessee and Oklahoma, I think Tennessee wins by 2 touchdowns. Missouri, they're going to destroy Vandy. Miami, destroy UCF. Penn State, destroy Kent State. Michigan and USC, I think Michigan loses by 2.5 touchdowns. Utah and Oklahoma State, I think Utah State takes the win, mainly because Cam Rising is not there at this current moment. Let's see here. Any more big ones coming around? Not really. Nothing. That's not really any of the big ranked games. Any other game you think is going to be very interesting? Let me know down below. And I'll most likely try to watch them. There's so many games to catch up with. I just don't I don't really like watching blowout games. I like to watch the close-up games. And in the blowout games, I'll rewatch in like the next 2 days. And that's the reason why I'm posting on a Monday and not on a Saturday night or a Sunday. But this will come out tomorrow, most likely, with my NFL Week 2 review, which will be a Tuesday for a lot of you people. So stay blessed, enjoy, and have a good day.